With a new head football coach in place, one with no ties to Penn State, can the football program put the Sandusky scandal behind it? Or does the once respected university have a lot of work to do to regain its reputation? Would you want your kid to choose Penn State right now? It's your call on the rebranding of Penn State right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Penn State's head football coach, Bill O'Brien.
What do you think about the way Penn State has handled the sex abuse scandal so far? Are leaders there making all the right decisions to regain its once stellar reputation, or has damage been done that will take years to repair? It's your call. You can start emailing me right now and tell us what you think. Hello, everyone. It's good to have you with us. I'm Lynn Doyle. With the hiring of a new football coach at Penn State, many people think it's the start of a new era there. But others argue it could be quite a long time before the university can put the nightmare of child abuse allegations behind it. Jerry Sandusky, charged with various counts of sexual abuse, will remain in the headlines for the foreseeable future as he goes through the judicial system. And that means every time his name is mentioned, Penn State will be mentioned as well. Joe Paterno, fired from his job as head coach after the Sandusky charges were made public, remains a legend among fans, especially as he now fights lung cancer, and news outlets will continue to follow his every move. So with O'Brien now in place, can Penn State start to rebuild its reputation? Or is that going to be an impossibility until this Sandusky case is over? We've brought together our experts to tackle those questions and more, and they are joining us now. They include Gary Cobb, who is a former NFL player. He's also a sports journalist, a host on Sports Radio 94 WIP, and principal of gcobb.com. Gina Rubel is an old friend of the show. She's the CEO of Furiel Rubel Communications, which handles corporate branding, public relations, and reputation management. Kevin Scholla is a CBS sports anchor who announces for several pro and college teams locally. And Dr. Corey Bank is a sports psychologist and a professor of psychology at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. Ladies and gentlemen, good to have you here. Start your engines. Let's go.
Great to be here.
Great to be here.
Gina, I want to start with you because this is not just a sports story. This is not just a news story. This is a story that affects legions of supporters all over the country. Why such an impact on Penn State alumni?
Well, Lynn, think about it. You've got over 505,000 alumni in the United States from Penn State, and they eat, breathe, and sleep Penn State. We are Penn State, they say. So, you know, there's such an allegiance and such a love of the university, and it started with the sports. You know, football has defined Penn State.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing, Gary, that Penn State is defined by its football program?
Well, I think it was a good thing for a long time. I mean, it was positive. In fact, Joe Paterno always talked about doing things the right way. Education was important. All of that was great. But because it was defined by football, when football is going down, so is the university with it. So that's why you got a lot of people sweating. There's a lot of money on the line. You talk about, the university. Penn State is a huge business. And that's what they're trying to protect, is the business of Penn State.
Well, that's why I said it's not just a sports or news story, Corey. It's the legacy of Penn State, and it's the business of Penn State. Do you think it's moving in the right direction to change what people think about it now?
Well, I think for Penn State, first of all, because football is such an important part of the school, and for some it is the part of the school, that to focus on the new athletes coming in and spotlighting them and letting them form their identity, I think that will increase the overall health, the physical and psychological health of Penn State. And I think that can branch out in terms of how it's perceived, because the scandal's not going to go away, and to deny it is ridiculous. But I think if we start focusing on what do we have in place now, who are our new athletes coming in, who can we showcase, or who are the distinguished alumni we can invite back, maybe that could also be something that could benefit them.
So let's talk about perception then, Kevin. Was it most important that they go in a new direction, they have a clean slate, they went with someone like Bill O'Brien? What did you think of that choice?
I found it interesting. I mean, it depends how you look at it. If you want to go bare bones and just look at it from a sports angle, I'm from the mindset, too, when my teams lose a coach, of course you want that splashy pick, the name you've heard of before. Oh, yeah, this guy's won and he has championships and he's been a head coach. This is a different kind of situation where perhaps the fact that they are going as far away from Penn State as possible might be a good thing. You heard these former players complain and say, oh, he's not a Nittany Lion and this, that, and the other thing. Well, you know what? There were a lot of Nittany Lions that allegedly helped in all this cover-up of Sandusky. And so perhaps to be as far away from that as possible might be the best thing they could do with a no-name, no slight at Bill O'Brien. But
I was going to say, I'm sure he doesn't appreciate
that. But I mean,
that.
you're not hearing a name that you say, oh, this guy's a college
I don't
winner.
think they had a choice, though. They had to go with somebody, and I don't think that you're going to get that big name that's going to go in there, because this is not an ideal job. Because really, you know that whatever you do on the football field, they're going to be everybody's going to be talking about the trial, all the things that are going to come out. And so it's a tough job to be walking into, and I think Bill O'Brien, this is an opportunity for him, but this is not an ideal job for somebody.
It is going to be a job that will be filled with distraction, no doubt about that, because he may very well want to focus on the kids and the students and the football program, but as you pointed out, the media will continue to follow this. Gina, do you agree that every time Sandusky's name is mentioned, it's reopening the wound for Penn State?
It reopens the wound, but there's a huge opportunity here. We always talk about opportunity and crisis, and one of those things is that if he can keep these teammates focused, if he can keep the players on point and keep them away from the media, he has an opportunity to continue to build great athletes. If you can overcome all of the noise, think about what those athletes can become in the future. I mean, so there's another opportunity underlying what he can bring to the table.
They've got to win. Simple as that. They got to win. They got to win a lot.
Winning makes people forget a lot of other things.
Winning will take care of a lot of it. Now, the thing about Bill O'Brien is he's a quarterback coach. He was coaching Tom Brady, mega star, and that's why I think they hired him, is because he's going to attract young quarterbacks. A great quarterback can take care of a lot of things and make a team that's not really a great team all the way through the roster, but allow them to win because you got great quarterbacking, and I think that's the key in why they hired him.
It's so unprecedented, though, Lynn. We're not talking about cheating on tests. We're not talking about stealing from the till at the bake sale, or, letting a kid, get some money on the side for whatever, let mom and dad get an apartment. We're talking about sexual abuse of children.
Yes.
And so we say about forgetting the scandal. It would be best to never forget the scandal at Penn State or anywhere else. You hear some of the good stories that have come out of people who've been, who were afraid to talk before and have talked now because of this. So as far as forgetting it or moving past it, we don't want that to happen.
Now, Kevin, you make a great point, because if they do forget, then they've missed the boat. They've lost the lesson. And there's so many great things that can come out of and are already coming out of a terrible situation. So by not forgetting the victims, I mean, the alumni have already raised $500,000 for one of the major organizations against rape. And so they're coming out, and if Penn State continues to become a leader against this, in research, in psychology, and in what goes into helping a victim, they're great. Again, it's, I like to use the word opportunity. There's big opportunity here not to forget.
In fact, you actually mentioned, I believe, in doing research, that you found that there's a hotline that's been established if people feel that they've been victimized, or if they were otherwise hesitant to talk about it. Now there's an outlet for them to seek help and support, and Penn State is using that as a teachable moment, so to speak.
In fact, it's my understanding, I spoke to someone at Penn State yesterday, that they have a hotline that was put in place, and they've already received 10 calls from students who are talking about abuse situations from before they came to the university. So I was abused as a child. I need someone to talk to. So if they've already reached 10 people, think of how many more mountains they can move over time.
And even at the main campus and the satellite campuses, they include that as part of freshman orientation. Providing resources, providing signs, symptoms that your roommate might have been victimized. It could be a great asset, because now people. The one thing with sexually abused victims is the issue of shame. And they don't want to come forward. And if they know they're in that supportive environment, they're going to be more likely to trust the individuals or institutions.
And in fact, the public perception of Penn State and its trust level will increase if, in fact, it feels like the university is doing something not just to protect its football program, but to protect all of its students. We're going to give you a chance to tell us what you think about rebuilding and rebranding Penn State's reputation. Do you think